of Tesla Energy.
Move fast and break things. Long the ethos of Silicon Valley tech founders, now brought to the government by Elon Musk. His Department of Government Efficiency, cheekily called Doge, given unprecedented latitude to slash spending and reorient the government, raising questions now about checks and balances. But beyond the chanting, are there legal paths to block any of what Musk and the president are trying to do?
Never before in American history has a single unelected businessman being given control over so many governmental functions.
According to an executive order signed on Inauguration Day, Doge falls under the office of the president, and Musk has been named a special government employee, meaning he hasn't been subject to the same strict conflict of interest standards as other government officials and hasn't faced congressional approval, usually an early check. But some of what Musk is trying to do is supposed to fall under congressional purview. For example, trying to shutter federal agencies like USAID, which Musk said he wanted to feed into a wood chipper, moving the agency under the State Department and preparing to shut it down entirely. The problem? Congress approves funds for USAID, and a 1974 law says the president can't take that money back without lawmakers' permission.
Congress ultimately creates agencies.
Jeffrey Rosen is the president and CEO of the National Constitution Center.
Presidents are obligated to spend money that Congress allocates. One of the big controversies now is whether the president can refuse to spend money Congress allocates.
Democrats in Congress quickly expressing alarm.
Doge has no authority to shut programs down or ignore federal law.
And they're starting to take some action in opposition, like asking the Government Accountability Office to investigate, a new bill trying to limit Musk, and saying they'll block State Department nominations. Unclear, though, what impact those will have, because as the minority party, they'll likely need at least some Republicans to act, too.
And the big debate in the Constitutional Convention is how can we stop the president from being a king? And they expect that Congress would vigorously check the president.
Few Republicans have dared to challenge the White House so far. The president openly supporting Musk, but behind the scenes, NBC News reporting that Musk has gotten the message his power is not unchecked.
We're trying to shrink government, and he can probably shrink it as well as anybody else, if not better. Where we think there's a conflict or there's a problem, we won't let him go near it.
The furthest any Republican in Congress seems to have gone is to bring up questions.
There's some very legitimate questions that have been raised. I would not be surprised if there were some court challenges that occur.
Essentially punting to the other big check the president and Doge will be facing, the courts. There have been a slew of lawsuits filed challenging the legality of Trump's efforts.
Someone has to file a lawsuit, and that person has to have what's called legal standing. That means they have to be personally harmed by the action.
A group of retirees and two labor unions suing the Treasury Department over Doge access to a payment system responsible for $6 trillion in annual payments, including Social Security and Medicare benefits. One of those unions is the SEIU.
80,000 of our members are hardworking federal employees.
The lawsuit focuses on the continuity of federal payments and the security of Americans' confidential information.
It is really, really scary that someone who has not been elected by the American people has access to personal, private, sensitive information for each and every one of us.
Now, the Treasury Department originally pushed back in a letter to Congress saying Doge officials will have read-only access, but ultimately the lawsuit had impact, with the Trump administration agreeing to restrict Doge access to the Treasury Department payment systems. And the courts have stepped in other ways, too. A judge pausing the administration's plan for deferred resignations, and others blocking President Trump's order on birthright citizenship, one saying, quote, "This is a blatantly unconstitutional order." That case and other challenges could end up before the U.S. Supreme Court.
One of the most important questions in these unusual times is, will the president obey orders by the courts and by the Supreme Court? We're seeing a remarkable debate in America about the scope of executive power.
Leaving the ultimate question, will the checks and balances hold? Laura Jarrett, NBC News.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.